He doesn't cover live shootings. You know better. Stop linking. Yes, I am not going to be talking about the UNC active shooting situation that's going on, apparently. I'm not even sure exactly what's happening. But from what I understand, there is a live shooting occurring at UNC at the moment. I am not going to cover it. I never cover live shootings. You should know that. Usually I wait. The only time I cover anything about live shootings is like if it's breaking news. I usually will look at the misinformation that's going on. I usually look at the misinformation that's going on and try to reason with people and try to explain to them what is actually happening. Walt Disney VFX artists have voted to unionize, by the way, which is great news. Congratulations. I love seeing union momentum in the VFX part of the industry. It's kind of funny that I've talked quite a bit about how people are moving towards VFX and like greatly relying on the VFX side of the production, specifically because it is one of the last non-union aspects of the production. And the fact that they immediately so quickly capitalized on all of the labor momentum happening on other aspects of the industry is basically the reason why these guys hate this kind of labor action. The reason why the bosses absolutely despise labor action is because it has, unlike anything else, a tendency to really kickstart labor momentum in other aspects of production where people go, wait a minute. Yeah, it is infectious. Wait a minute. They are unionizing. They get to exercise bargaining power. We don't have that kind of power. If I'm a VFX guy in the United States of America, I recognize that there's more and more there's more and more opportunities for someone like myself. Technology is improving. However, VFX can be done anywhere, right? VFX can be done anywhere. And they're going to outsource that shit so fucking fast. I better get some kind of labor power to collaborate with the other unions, to get recognition from the other unions, to ensure that this kind of work stays within the American plants, I guess, the VFX plants, the American operations. So that's really good. I think that this is really, really, really good. This is really, really, really exciting stuff. Okay. My boyfriend works at a popular fast food chain and was really interested in starting a union with other coworkers. When he reached out to union organizers, they told him he unfortunately couldn't do it because he's a manager and managers can't participate in unionization efforts. It's really disappointing, but when we looked it up, it's true. Do you know if there's anything else that can be done in the situation? Well, yeah, your job as a manager is quite literally to not allow unionization to happen. But as a manager, maybe he can talk to his own workers. And like, the problem is if he talks to his own workers and they end up unionizing, he's going to be put in a very weird position where like he might actually lose his job unless he does unless he engages in like some level of union busting. Like, in spite of the fact that all managers are just workers themselves, they are supposed to represent the antagonistic interest of the bosses. You know what I mean? Yeah, managers can't / shouldn't tell workers you should start a union, but can definitely say union positive things and stay out of the way of it, or not report unionization efforts, etc. So yeah, I did a thing, want to stream me too. I know. Okay, let's get to some serious news. I've been like avoiding talking about this harder than avoiding the top of the hour ad break, which I'm not avoiding really. I'm going to run that top of the hour ad break right now, and then we're going to move on to some serious news right now. What happened in Jacksonville, something that has happened many, many times over. And as far as the breaking news from UNC goes, I'm just going to give you guys an update on it. Chapel Hill, UNC. Oh, wait, first, hold on. Let me just run the fucking ad break. I'm all over the goddamn place. I'm so ADHD right now. It's out of control. But yeah, the update is that the suspect is still at large, armed or dangerous, on or near UNC Chapel Hill campus. Shelter in place is still in effect, as far as I understand. As Americans, students. That's all I'm gonna give you guys on this situation, and then we'll get to that when there's more real time updates happening. Okay, here's the 3-minute ad break now. Let's get started on the other news. Another mass shooting. Investigation into racially motivated shooting that occurred. There's newly released security footage showing the moment a self-proclaimed white supremacist shot and killed 3 black people at a Jacksonville Dollar General store before killing himself on Saturday. Of course, this is the United States of America. You know, everybody does shootings. But, of course, you know, white supremacists do way more than other groups. The far right is very good at racially targeted, racially motivated hate crimes, and you know, that's what's going on. The kid, as far as I understand, the white supremacist piece of shit, he originally went to a historically black college, and security told him to fuck off. So then he moved into a Dollar General store. The reason why his manifesto is out and about in broad daylight is because he released it. He released it ahead of time. So if you come in here and you want to debate and be like, what about the trans shooter in Nashville? Like, well, they didn't release it. So there's not really anything you can go off of there. It's clearly not racially motivated. The swastikas on his gun weren't drawn clearly. Right-wing nutters. Yeah, right-wingers have been going crazy mode on this, of course. Not defending it, but saying, don't make this political. Don't make this political. What does this have to do with, you know, right-wing violence? I don't get it. Speaking of which, though, of course, we are in the United States of America. More than 25,000 people have been killed in gun violence so far in 2023. And more than half of all gun violence deaths this year were deaths by suicide, as always. So just remember that. What do you mean 25K? What the fuck? Guys, there have been 131 mass shootings with 4 or more people wounded or killed so far in 2023 as well. We're breaking records, baby. #1 country on the planet. Best at doing white supremacist acts of violence. Best at doing mass shootings. Best at gun violence. Best at gun deaths. 25K by August is pretty high, I think. Yeah, it is. But I'm saying that, like, guys. This is the United States of America, baby. If they were telling me, like, you know, hundreds of thousands of people are dying to heart disease, I'm like, yeah, of course. Of course that's the case. You know, we're America. Just in as of this past weekend, the United States has now eclipsed 25,000 plus gun injuries for the year, an average of over 100 non-fatal shootings each day. From the Gun Violence Archive itself. Now, obviously, a lot of these different trackers have different metrics. That's why you'll see like 28,000 in certain points, or you'll hear 25,000 in certain different points. But you know, let's get started with this one. An investigation is being conducted into the racially motivated shooting. As you guys already know, when the cops immediately in the aftermath of a shooting say that this was racially motivated, you bet your fucking ass it was racially motivated. So much so that, like, the kid literally was probably saying, the dude, whoever the fuck it is probably saying, I am here to do a racially motivated shooting, okay? Because it's not like police are you know, really excited at the prospect of immediately saying this is a hate crime. They're not. If anything, they themselves engage in a lot of that themselves and would rather not say that something is a racially motivated shooting unless it is very obviously racially motivated. He literally had swastikas on his gun, as far as I understand, yes, and he released his manifesto to the media beforehand. So very clearly what happened in this situation is yet another instance where it's like very clearly telegraphed as a racially motivated white supremacist act of violence.
This morning into the racially motivated mass shooting in Florida. A white gunman killing 3 black people in a dollar store and then turning the gun on himself.
Community leaders gathered last night to remember the victims, including a 19-year-old store employee, along with a young father of a 4-year-old girl. Alex Perche is live in Jacksonville with the latest. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Robin. Yeah, the family of that young father is in shock. This community is hurting. One resident telling me yesterday that the only thing getting her through right now is faith.
This morning, this newly released security footage shows the horrific moment a self-proclaimed white supremacist shot and killed 3 black people at a Jacksonville Dollar General before turning the gun on himself. Authorities investigating Saturday afternoon's deadly rampage as a racially motivated hate crime, one that has left this predominantly black neighborhood reeling.
Our community is grappling to understand why this atrocity occurred. I urge us all not to look.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that confusing. I'll be honest. Like why would it be at this point? I mean, it literally happened. It happened in Buffalo. Identical terms. Identical conditions, identical terms. Fuck it. Even the dude looks the same. You know what I mean? It's always the same disgusting little fucking basement dwelling Nazi cretins that that are so personally wronged. Like they spiritually feel like modern society, modern liberal society has wronged them for not giving them what they believe they are worth. When there's a mismatch with what they thought they were supposed to have as white men and what society has given them as white men, they turn into, we were Vikings, I was a fucking Viking in a past life, I am the superior race automatically, and you should respect that. It's a coping mechanism that is infinitely dangerous, infinitely more dangerous than any other type of coping mechanism in a society that was built around white entitlement and white supremacy. If this is the alternative on the other side is nowhere near as damning or damaging because the alternative does not have structural violence backing this kind of behavior. Okay? Just want everybody to understand that. Like the people on 4chan immediately would be like, oh, what do you mean? Like, we was Kangs. Like, it's like there is no equivalent because there is no structural support afforded to black people to enact systemic violence on white people as there is structural support and systemic violence enacted on black people at the behest of white supremacy. Okay? It just doesn't work that way. It only goes one direction. You might not like it. You might feel like this makes you lose a debate or whatever, but it is just the reality. Okay? How do you rehabilitate someone like this if he survived? You move him away from this environment. You move him away from the online community immediately. If you didn't see some of the evidence that the right is denying is on his gun, scroll down to the last picture. Yeah. People are of course like first he went to Edward Waters University. He was told to fuck off, and then he went and he found a dollar store. Shooter's father called the police after the shooting started. He had swastikas on his gun, obviously, and numerous other random carvings on his gun. Yeah, it's such a classic story at this point. I mean, it's been happening nonstop, especially under the Trump administration. It happened quite a bit, and it's only upping the frequency because we just have no way to deal with it spiritually. Okay? There is a multitude of different reasons for why this kind of thing happens in the United States of America with way more frequency than anywhere else. Obviously, mass availability of guns is one of them. But if you want to talk about if you want to have a more holistic approach, there's a couple different reasons. One, the white entitlement not matching the white material conditions that certain people experience, where they are like, why am I being wronged when, my parents told me I'm supposed to amount to something so much better than this. I'm not getting this. I'm not getting the output does not represent what the input is supposed to be like or what the input promised me. Okay? There's that aspect. And then America's interest in violence. America is a spiritual problem as well with respect to how much violence that we do overseas, how much violence that we even do domestically and totally normalize in the hands of the police, how much violence that we do overseas to other people and the negligence or the disdain that we feel for those victims of violence overseas. That kind of thing, of course, is going to have a genuine negative consequence in the minds of Americans. If there's so much violence all around you and you've normalized it, you are of course going to act out in this way. Okay? Overseas violence perpetuated by the U.S. Armed Forces has always been ignored and almost glorified. Exactly. The shooter had also been previously Baker acted, forcibly hospitalized for psychiatric issues, yet he could legally purchase the guns. Well, that's very Florida. It's nice. Anyway, so yeah, we also do a lot of structural violence to the poor and the homeless. We do a lot of racialized violence to black people, brown people in their communities that police are basically occupying like an occupying force. You know, all of this has created a perfect environment for these kinds of things to happen over and over and over again. You know what I mean? That's it. We have more prisons than colleges. UNC school shooters still active. I'm in a classroom. Yeah, if you're in UNC, you know, keep your head down. I don't know what else to say other than that. So, this shit happens everywhere. Fucking libtard. Yeah, you're right. I'm a fucking libtard because I think that it's very odd that we have had 25,000 people killed by guns so far when we're like basically just past the halfway point of the year. That's why I am a libtard. I'm talking about a white supremacist terrorist today, and while I'm talking about it, there's another mass shooting happening at UNC right now. There's chatters in here that are fucking watching under a goddamn desk in their fucking classrooms, and you're calling me a libtard for being like, that shit's fucked up. Yeah, you're right. I'm a libtard because bullets should be hailing literally every day, and we should just have Kevlar umbrellas for it and move on, you know? Because we're red-blooded patriots or something. I don't fucking know at this point. Incredible stuff. Thank you. Thank you for normalizing this kind of shit that occurs on a daily basis.
For sense and a senseless act of violence.
Police say the suspect, 21-year-old Ryan Christopher Palmetter, first arrived at Edward Waters University, a nearby historically black university, at 12:48 p.m. and put on a bulletproof vest. Police using this video as part of their investigation, showing the suspect getting dressed before the shooting. Campus security confronts him, tells him to leave, and later notifies law enforcement.
EWU flags down JSO officer and says there's a suspicious person on campus. He had an opportunity to do violence. In EWU, he did not.
At 1:08 p.m., surveillance video outside the Dollar General shows the shooter, without warning, firing 11 rounds into 52-year-old Angela Michelle Carr's Kia, killing her. The gunman then walks into the store and shoots 19-year-old employee Analt Joseph Legary Jr. And minutes later, after multiple witnesses flee out the back of the store, 29-year-old Gerald Gallion enters, the shooter killing him and missing his girlfriend.
At 1:14 and 23 seconds, the suspect enters the office. At 1:18, the suspect texts his father and says, use a screwdriver to get into my room. The father enters the room and finds a last will and testament of the suspect along with a suicide note on his laptop.
The family eventually calling police, but by that time, the rampage was over, the shooter taking his own life as officers arrived on the scene. All of this carnage happening in a little over 10 minutes. Investigators finding writings on the gunman which they say contained racist and hateful ideology, as well as a painted swastika on one of the firearms. They say the suspect was involuntarily held for 72 hours at a mental health facility as a minor in 2017, but that he had no prior criminal history and purchased his guns, a handgun and an AR-15 style rifle, legally.
There was no criminal record, nothing. There was nothing that we could have done to stop him from owning a firearm, a rifle, or a handgun. There was no red flags.
It was hatred.
Bro, what do you mean? Wait, what? Brother, sisters, if you are 5150'd, you should not be able to buy a gun legally. Okay? Sorry. Like, literally, if you are involuntarily held, you should not be able to buy a gun legally. What do you mean? And it doesn't matter. Even if you're fucking suicidal and not a danger to others, you still shouldn't be able to buy a gun legally. You want to know why? Because what the fuck are you going to do with the gun? You're going to kill yourself with the gun. That's it. More than half of the fucking gun deaths in this goddamn country are suicides. Have you played the same part where the chief starts going hog about guns? Guns don't kill people. People kill people. Yeah. Guns just make it much easier. We're definitely about to get some That's Ableist chatters. Remember, chat? Yes, we're being ableist right now. You should not have a gun. Oh, yeah. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, dude, I'm ableist. Blind people should not be able to fucking drive cars, okay? Ableism. It's fucking awesome, okay? There you go. I said it. I am 100% an ableist when it comes to depressed people, clinically depressed people owning fucking firearms in their homes, okay? Sorry. You know, no shot. Nope, not allowed. There are plenty of fucking veterans in this chat who will also agree with me. The fuck do you mean? There's also plenty of veterans who won't agree with me on this because, you know, they love guns. But it's fucking ridiculous, dude. Do not own a firearm. There's a reason why when I click the run the ad button, you get, if you're a veteran, you get a fucking ad which is like, hey, please, the VA will give you a free lock on your gun case. And that in that 1.5 second of you, the time it takes for you to unlock your fucking gun case, you will be reminded not to kill yourself. That's America's way of dealing with veteran suicides, okay? That's how fucked up the situation is. Like, it's insane that, like, we can't really do anything. We can't really do anything about it. We're not going to offer enough mental health care. We certainly can't stop you from having guns. So the VA has made an ad campaign where it's like, hey, guys, we'll give you a free lock for your gun case if you have one, so that, you know, in the 1 second to 30 seconds it takes for you to unlock your gun case, you'll reconsider shooting yourself in the fucking mouth. That's America's solution to PTSD suicide with a gun. Okay? We do not care. You will not touch this country. You will not touch this country's treats. Guns are treats. It's so perfectly crafted as an identity. It's not an accident that 25,000 gun deaths have happened so far in the middle of August. It's not an accident. It's by design.
For this individual who lived in another county and do a senseless act, it's just unacceptable.
The grieving community reflecting on the lives lost, like Gerald Gallion, a father of a 4-year-old daughter. Loved ones saying she was everything to him.
When you look at this situation, knowing that you have to tell your granddaughter, how do you make sense of all that?
I don't know. I'm just gonna have to pray and ask God to give me the words and the strength to sit her down and tell her, because she's so young. And all she...
Gun deaths by suicide and mass shootings have been a problem for quite a while. It's such as school shootings, man. It's been a very long time. But yeah, I know. I'm not saying it's just school shootings. I've never said it's just school shootings. I always talk about how it's the fucking... It is literally the tip of the iceberg, okay? School shootings are just the tip of the iceberg. It's just like the most unjustifiable version of a structure that is like infinitely unjustifiable from top to bottom, but that is like the maximum level of unjustifiable. Bro, we had a fucking kindergarten mass shooting. Like, what are we talking about? Yeah, it is so fucked up. Like, that's it. There's nothing else. After that, there's nothing else. That is so much violence, so much pure, unadulterated cruelty. You can't do anything after that.
He knew it's her daddy.
That grandmother tells me that they still haven't figured out how to tell Gerald's 4-year-old daughter the news. She's dreading the conversation. Now, as for this investigation, the FBI is now looking at this as a hate crime. Rebecca.
Alex Perche, thank you, Alex.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts.
Anyway, DeSantis did a fucking Jacksonville shooting vigil, which was like his own Pete Buttigieg moment, I guess. Like, you know? I know there's a shooting at UNC, chat. I know.
We're going to ask the governor if he would come now and bring remarks.
Well, thank you for doing this. I want to just say to the councilwoman, I got you. Don't worry about it. We've already been looking to identify funds to be able to help, one, make sure there's adequate security for Edward Waters College. We are not going to allow these institutions to be targeted by people.
Okay, listen, y'all. Let me tell you, we finna put parties aside, cause it ain't about parties today. A bullet don't know a party, so don't get me started. Okay, Jacoby is nice, but Ann is not. Now, if the governor wanted to come here and he bringing gifts to my community, y'all know I'm taking the gifts, because we've been through enough already, and I don't want to go through no more. Now, y'all just be quiet just a minute. and let the governor say what he gonna say, and we gonna get this party started. You hear me? Okay, let's do it.
So we have already.
She's in a weird predicament because, like, you know, this guy's a fucking giant piece of shit, and you know, he has played a role in white supremacy thriving in his state, like personally utilized it as an opportunity to you know, make campaign messages, but also at the same time, it's like, well, he's the governor, you know what I mean? He has to give fucking money. It's a weird position. Lady, he ain't bringing shit. He's just there to farm what votes. It doesn't matter. By design, in order to farm votes, it's nasty. It's a nasty situation. But by design, in order to farm votes, he will actually probably put funds towards that community. It's really fucked up. But that is America. And at a certain point, you have to be fucking pragmatic. Not that she's doing the right thing there. I mean, but there's no other situation where you have to play ball with the governor. You know what I mean? You have to play ball with the governor who himself currently is running a national campaign and wants black voters to vote for him as well. And that's part of the reason why he has to fucking dump money into that region to make it seem like he gives a shit, while simultaneously playing this song and dance where he hypes the racial agitation. He hypes up the racial agitation as much as possible.
We identified funds from the state of Florida. I've been in touch with Dr. Face.
He's also doing the weird, like, he's so fucking gross. I'm so glad they booed the shit out of him, by the way. He is so gross because he's doing, like, his like politician stump speech voice where he's like, we have identified funds and we're giving it to Jacksonville. Like, what are you, fucking insane? You think they're supposed to cheer after that? Like, you're expecting claps? Yeah, here, by the way, I know I haven't seen this yet, but I'm willing to bet that this guy didn't fucking hate DeSantis all that much, because over the last year, neo-Nazis in Florida who have openly shown their support for DeSantis, and he has refused to condemn them. Instead, his campaign featured a neo-Nazi symbol. Now a neo-Nazi shot and killed 3 people in a racially motivated mass shooting in Jacksonville. You know what I mean? Because, like, I haven't seen his manifesto yet, but it's not like Ron DeSantis has been openly shitting on the Nazis that are protesting all around Florida and saying they love Ron DeSantis. When neo-Nazis openly carried his campaign flag, DeSantis refused to condemn them and attacked journalists for even asking him about it. He said that people trying to smear him by even asking him to condemn neo-Nazis. So yeah, no one likes him. Lamau, not Trump, not the GOP, not the fucking public, only Nazis. Yeah, young Republicans are super groiped up. Okay, they are incredibly groiped up. They're like unbearable fucking Nazis. They're unbearable fascists. They're incredibly nerdy about their fascism, and they like Ron DeSantis because they think he's like a clinical fascist who's going to go in and enact their will like he has done in Florida. You want to know why? Because they're fucking stupid. They're in a goddamn echo chamber, and they think people respond positively to this level of like out and about, openly directed fascist violence in America right now. Now, there might be an appetite for it in the future. It certainly seems like it, but you still have to mask it. Okay? You have to push the institutions to enact a white supremacist agenda while simultaneously denying that it exists. The moment that you go out and you fucking hit the Sig Heil, it's over. Every fucking old racist is going to look at that and go, that's gross. What are you doing? The Nazis are the Democrats, not us. That type of shit. That's why most Southerners utilize Confederate imagery to invoke the same feelings. Okay? It's more of a spiritual defense of the South and Southern culture and heritage. It's Southern pride. It's not white pride. You know what I mean? Even though it's very obvious what they're fucking defending. Maybe some of them don't know because it's that personally embedded in their educational structure and that personally embedded in their media. But I think Newsom played ball with you and your friends. Wait, what? Newsom played ball with you and your viewers? What are you saying? Understand. understand that even racists don't like to be called racist, okay? Racists don't like to be called racist because once you are marked with like being a backer of like Nazism, KKK, all this shit, it's over. You can't win over anybody else at that point. The only other people you're talking to are people that are just as fucking brain broken as you. And when you're in these like insane echo chambers online, you end up hyping each other up. Okay, fuck Hassan for real. You're right, brother. You fuck me for real, dude. I know it's really fucked up because I'm saying insane things like racism is bad. I know it's really messed up for real, though. It is, you know, it's not like I'm making a bold assertion here. I'm just saying that like racism is bad, and it's so bad that even racists recognize it's bad, and they don't want to be fucking called racist. And at this stage, at this day and age online, you can say something like that, which most people should agree with. Even motherfuckers will turn around and be like, nah, actually, it's a bad take, brother. Racism is good, actually. Like, what is that your opportunity here? Is that what you're trying to say? That racism is good? Fuck us off for real? Anyway, where the fuck were we? Neo-Nazis across Florida have been engaged in terror campaign against the LGBTQ community and the Jewish community. They have regularly shown up outside of drag events and projects swastikas on the buildings in Jacksonville. The mass shooting is not isolated. The shooting yesterday is a manifestation of the putrid hate and bigotry that has festered in Florida for the last 2 years that has been emboldened and inspired by DeSantis. The media needs to hold him accountable for this because so far they have failed to. Now, as much as we make fun of little Rhonda being absolutely fucking Rizless, okay? And how he is just like pathetic, unlikable, all this shit. So are the rest of these fucking Nazis, okay? So they, in their own echo chambers, have created a false narrative, a false reality, where like, no, actually, people will believe us, and they will see our actions, and they will think it's cool and awesome. Because they are completely isolated from normal individuals in society that they personally think this kind of shit is actually good and that it would get, you know, mass popularity. It will reach mass popularity until they go out and protest in the wild and they get their shit pushed in and they get like either arrested like January 6th or they do the Charlottesville situation, Unite the Right rally. And then they realize, oh, fuck, there's actually a much larger counter protest. And they go too far, and then they're relegated back into the fucking shadows. This is also why anti-fascism is important. Because you have to show them that they are not popular. You have to show them. You have to stop them from trying to gain momentum. You know what I mean? But this is an issue with our extremely isolated, extremely alienated, hyper-atomized online communities, okay? There is no way that you believe more than half the things you say yourself. Yes, I'm faking it. I'm faking what I am describing right now when you are most likely probably a product of exactly what I'm saying. So just listen to my words, please, okay? I am also an extremely online person, okay? So I get it. I get how attitudes fester in the darkness, okay? I get how in an echo chamber online, in a Discord circle, you might fool yourself into thinking that there is a lot more broad momentum and public support for idiotic, esoteric Nazi ideologies that you might believe in or fascist ideologies that you might believe in. But that is not the case, okay? There's a reason why a lot of people talk a big game online under the guise of anonymity. And then the moment that like one of those 4chan guys or 8chan guys actually goes out in the wild and gets arrested for doing something, every other person in that community turns around and goes, oh, dude, no, that's not one of ours. That's a gay loser. He's a Fed. He's a federal agent who's also a homosexual man and a fucking loser. He's not like me at all, actually. And it's like, no, he's exactly like you. He's identical to you. He's acting out the desires that you espouse on a daily basis online. The problem is, he was crazy enough to fucking go out and do it. Okay? That's it. And when a light is shined upon a person like, a person exactly like you, you realize how the broader community views your fucking insane, sweaty, nerdy version of fascism. Okay? That's it. That's it. You look like a giant fucking loser. The cockroaches scatter when a light is shined upon them. Immediately, they move away. They're like, oh, that's not like one of ours at all, actually. Okay? So, it's always something that you need to remember. And in order to get away from that, you have to get away from these extremely online circles that you engage in. Okay? They think that saying what their grandparents believe is transgressive. No, that's where it starts. These people move beyond that, usually. Okay? It starts off by, basically saying whatever the fuck your dad is repeating from Fox News or whatever the fuck your grandparents are saying about, like, gay people or whatever. And it moves into something that has to be a little bit more transgressive, has to be a little bit more culturally disruptive. So you can't just be like a regular old racist, because then you're just a regular old Republican voter. You have to move the needle to an area that is weird. And that's why you're like, oh, well, I like Francis Evola. It's like, mysticism and esoteric fascism. It's like, no, you're just desperate for an identity, and you got into a unique circle that fed your hyperfixation. And instead of your hyperfixation being fucking trains or planes or any kind of normal autism shit, you chose fascism, you chose racism, you chose nerdiness. Okay? It's like, oh, I read Culture of Critique. It's so brilliant. Oh my God. And now I'm like a weird Nazi debate lord online. It's like, dude, how do you not see that is not good for you? It's not good for your mind. It's not good for you spiritually. Okay? You are going down a dark path. At the end, this is what you end up doing. You gather around with a bunch of other losers just like you, and you do this kind of shit. Okay? It's not good for you. Hey, don't fucking drag autism by saying there's a connection to fascists. Watch it. Okay, chill the fuck out, okay? That's not what I'm saying at all. Calm down. Anyway. You know exactly what I mean. Stop immediately making it yourself, okay? Making it about you. It's like, wow, I can't believe you said I'm a fascist. Isn't that what I said at all? Stop pearl clutching. Let's continue.
Jason, we're going to be announcing some stuff tomorrow morning, which I think will help not only with security, but also an attempt to help these families. The fact of the matter is, you had a major league scumbag come from Clay County up here, and what he did...
Major league scumbag that has been to all of my rallies. I mean, I don't know if he is, but...
What he did is totally unacceptable in the state of Florida. We are not going to let people be targeted based on their race. We are going to stand up, and we are going to do what we need to do.
Go ahead, bro. Tell them how the real racism right now is like the people targeting white people, actually. Come on. Go ahead. There was one guy who at least had the bravery to do that, fucking Vivek Ramaswamy, who is just so nutty with it. And we're going to get to that in a second.
To make sure that evil does not triumph in the state of Florida. And that means we are going to work with Edward Waters so that they have whatever security they need. In Florida, we've already given a lot of money to Jewish day schools because they've been targeted with anti-Semitism. Well, let me tell you this. You are not going to target HBCUs in the state of Florida and get away with it. We're going to hold you accountable. We're not going to let it happen. And we thank what everybody's done, TK, the mayor, and just know that the state of Florida stands with the community. Help is on the way. God bless you all.
They're booing him.
Now to Maui.
So before we get into, obviously, Maui, there's a lot more that I want to cover on this issue. Let's get to Vivek Ramaswamy. So we talked about We talked about Little Rhonda getting booed and heckled, but let's get to Vivek Ramaswamy, who, wait, where the fuck is it? I thought I had it. Where? Does anyone have the link of Ramaswamy on Cuck Todd? The highlights? And then also Dana Bash. Oh, thank you. Yeah, Rhonda Satan. Hold on. Governor Ron DeSantis just now got a very tepid reception of the vigil for the victims of the yesterday shooting. He was also getting jeered some, prompting City Council member Jacoby Pittman to chide the crowd. Some larger context, DeSantis pressured the legislature to pass a congressional map that, for the first time in decades, wiped out a Jacksonville district that allowed black voters to elect the candidate of their choice. He was staring at those constituents directly in the face. There it is. They're now rep by some goober on the north in an entirely different county, and of course a Republican. Not that I think this will leave all that much of an impression on the man, but it was good the governor saw that unenthusiastic reception and heard the jeers. He made it explicit political policy ambition to rob those people of their political power. He has robbed them of their political power. He has made it illegal to fucking learn about their history correctly. All of this does not have an immediate fucking response, okay? Because as Americans, we immediately look at action, reaction, action, reaction. What is the tangible impact? What do you mean? Banning CRT is the reason why this shooting happened? I'm not saying that, okay? I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that it works in unison, okay? If you live in a country that was founded on white supremacist values, if your country did a lot of white supremacist wrongs, racial violence, racial targeting in general, systemic discrimination, which it barely accounted for and barely even educates its children on, then of course these kinds of manifestations are going to keep happening. When people go, it's not enough that cops are fucking occupying black communities. It's not enough that they are systematically left impoverished, underfunded. It's not. That's not enough. I want more. I want more violence. And people like Ben Shapiro ask for more violence, but they do it in a civil way. They ask for structural violence that is happening. Efendim. Hayır. Tamam evet doğru. Murat'ın da eşyaları var. Evet onları da koy. Onları da götür. Hepsini götür. Tamam. Teşekkür ederim. Sorry. As I was saying, did the shooter write a manifesto? Yes, he did. I think he wrote multiple manifestos. But it is already at the heart, already at the core. And if you never right those racial wrongs, then of course more people are going to feel the need to express their desires in this way. Okay? Same thing could be said for Palestinians under Israeli rule. Absolutely. You see it. You see it there as well. You see it all around the fucking... You see it all around the world. You definitely could ask Ron that question. Do you think that the erasure of black history in schools has radicalized these Nazi Republicans to take action and erase living black people? No. I don't think Ron DeSantis' like immediate actions created this shooting. Ron DeSantis' actions on that front will create shootings in the next 10 years. Do you understand? Because that hatred was always there. And maybe Ron DeSantis' actions embolden fascists to think that they have more broader popular support than they actually do because they see themselves in Little Rhonda, a fucking antisocial nerd who is enacting a very bloodthirsty agenda at the legislative level, at the state legislative level, right? And they think, oh, yeah, this guy is just like me for real. Maybe that level of emboldenment, maybe that level of galvanizing does occur, okay? But ultimately, it's a much larger problem. And there are numerous different angles that you can tackle, okay? You can tackle the mental health aspect. You can tackle hyper-isolation, hyper-atomization that is occurring in our society. You can tackle the material conditions. You can tackle the gun part of the problem, okay? Because this issue is not born out of a singular action-reaction situation. Everyone wants that. Everyone wants that black and white narrative. You want to understand. If there's one issue that you can point to, however, it is white supremacy. Absolutely. But it's not born simply out of that. Okay? It's not born simply out of that. It's not just like this guy, white supremacist, now he's a fucking murderer. that oversimplifies it. Okay? It's not good versus evil. It's not just like, a black and white situation. Okay? The problem is we do not tackle a single aspect of the premise. We do not look at any of the issues or try to fix them. We don't do it. We just purposely turn around, turn the other cheek, act like it's not happening, or when it's happening, look for like different conspiracy theories. Please look at the juxtaposition of these data points. Economic cost of gun violence per person and the cost of progressive policies. We could do all these progressive policies to improve real material conditions and make sure this type of violence never happens again, and you still come out saving money. It doesn't matter, dude. It makes sense, but it doesn't matter. Brother, it's like public transit, okay? If you spend money on public transit and it's it's available and used by the public, then all of a sudden traffic is going to be alleviated, so you can drive your fucking car better with ease. You can get to places faster with your car if you want to. It will improve commerce. It will improve the economy. And yet we don't do it. Americans are just allergic to good things, okay? And we're dumb enough, and we've been so primed. We've been so fucking primed into believing that like good things are bad for us that we don't even think about it. Okay? You just can't do that. I didn't even mention how public transit would improve pollution, because that's another issue where it's like climate change will impact you personally. It will impact you personally, okay? You do not live out in space. You live on the planet. You live on planet Earth. It's coming for you. And yet, people don't want to think about it. It is much easier to avoid it. It's much easier to not think about it and say, no, that's some commie bullshit, okay? Anyway, so let's get to this fucking cretin. The more I see him, the more I think he's too much of a greasy debate nerd for the Republican Party to like adopt him as a candidate that is better than even Ron DeSantis. I'm not gonna lie, he's too much of a debate lord. I think Trump has a way of dancing around these issues while, dog whistling or bullhorning it. And Ramaswamy doesn't have that. He doesn't have that same charisma. He just comes across like a very annoying, smarmy, like hyper-intellectual loser, okay? Let's take a look at this video. I think you will understand. Yeah, we'll talk about Vivek on CNN in a second. First, let's get started on this one. Where the fuck is it? God damn it, I lost it again. Shit! Oh, here it is. Even Cuck Todd kind of rips him a little bit. Let's take a look.
I think there are more race-based violent crimes on the right than on the left. Why is this a lot more pervasive on the right?
Well, the fact of the matter is, I think that there's a lot more violence that's also pervasive in parts of the country that supposedly are left-wing voter bases. So I don't think this is a left versus right issue, and I don't think we should try to politicize this through partisan goggles either, Chuck, especially in the wake of a tragedy.
Yeah, let's not get partisan with it, dude. Also, this is a really funny, it's gross, it's disgusting, but it's also a kind of funny way to cover this where, you know how Trump always does this thing where he'll be like, I shouldn't be arrested for the classified documents thing, okay, because I have the right to be able to hold classified documents, whereas Joe Biden should be arrested for his classified documents. It's like, it's a situation where there's no consistency unless you think it's okay when I do it, it's not okay when you do it, right? He's doing that exact same thing here where he goes from, I don't think we should politicize this white supremacist shooting into immediately, and we also should definitely politicize the trans shooter in Nashville, which is, really fucking stupid because there is no like trans ideology. That's number one. Like white supremacy is a tangible, understandable ideology that you can associate with. You can see movements behind around it. Being trans is just a state of existence. Okay. Don't say yes, there is. No, playing Paradox games is not an ideology. Wearing coder socks and fucking playing Fallout New Vegas sex mods is not a fucking ideology, okay? Shut the fuck up. Trans people in the chat being like, no, it's an ideology. That's not an ideology. It's a state of existence, okay? Anyway, as I was saying, so he immediately turns this around. And of course, puts the crosshairs on trans people.
Like this one. The fact is, there are more the manifesto men dying on the south side of Chicago.
Do you ignore the elements that allowed?
He's like, dude, that's not what he asked. He didn't say, like, what's up with the violence? He said, what's up with the racialized violence on the fucking right? It's a very specific question.
This manifesto to spread online, and that what we're, you know, it does feel as if social media connects some of these hateful ideologies.
Well, the fact of the matter is, I do think we have two standards that we're even applying if we're having a conversation about manifestos. We still have not yet even seen the manifesto of that transgender shooter in Nashville of a Christian school.
He literally so openly is like, no. Avoid the manifesto that's out right now of this white supremacist shooter who had a swastika on his gun. That's not about ideology. Let's not talk about his ideology. But also, what about the trans shooter that had a manifesto that hasn't been released? It's like, bitch, that's not up to us. We don't have the fucking diary, okay? It's fine. I don't have an issue seeing it, okay? I don't have an issue seeing the trans shooter's diary, okay? I don't care. Like, I would be fine seeing that, okay? But you can't, on the one hand, turn around and be like, where's the manifesto? It's in the hands of law enforcement. What do you mean? What do you mean, where's the manifesto? We know where the fucking manifesto is. It's in the hands of law enforcement. Okay? Take it up with them. It's so weird. Like, what do you think? It's the FBI's in the pocket of fucking big trans or something? That, one, transness is an ideology in and of itself, and two, the FBI and law enforcement is cooperating with big trans? That is a psychotic whataboutism that doesn't even have any, like, that doesn't even have anything to stand on. Yeah, big law enforcement, man. Yeah, we got to abolish the police because they're in the pocket of big trans. Anyway, let's continue.
And yet here we're focusing on the motive. So if we want to look at this through a politicized lens, let's look at what the political media and the political establishment is doing differentially in how they analyze different crimes and then create a new narrative around it.
Dude, what are you saying? Like his deflection also quite literally can be answered with the question itself, okay? How many trans people have done shootings on behalf of what you claim is like transness and being big trans? How many? It's like one versus the majority. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, there is no fucking ideology there that's like, oh, being trans is about like getting a fucking AR-15 and shooting up a school, in the same way that like being a white supremacist, which is an ideology, a very dangerous one, okay, revolves around killing black and brown people. The only difference between the shooter and someone like Ben Shapiro is that he doesn't want to just accelerate the systems, okay? He doesn't want to accelerate the structural forms of oppression that exist every day like Ben does. He wants to put his he wants to put his finger on the scale and just like ram it in to black and brown communities. The shooter takes matters into his own hands because he says, fuck that. They're not helping. It's not enough. It's not enough that that black communities basically are treated as like domestic colonies in this fucking country. It's not enough. I need to take matters into my own fucking hands. That's what the difference is here. Anyway, the one good thing that's come out of this psychosis, however, is that, you know, it's very clear to me that this guy is pathetically unlikable, and he finds himself defending really idiotic points over and over again. It'll look good online. It'll translate well to all of the debate lords online that will turn around and go, yeah, he's our guy. He's our guy. He's doing a great job defending these like edgy positions. Ooh. It's like, yeah, good luck, dude. That doesn't make for a well-oiled national campaign, okay? It just doesn't work. It doesn't fucking work. It doesn't work that way. Chuck Todd to Vivek Ramaswamy, your argument comes across blaming those that are trying to create equality for a rise in fascism. He does. This part was this part was just so awful.
So, consequence of the so-called anti-racist movements.
Your argument.
He says that an act of white supremacist violence that occurred in Jacksonville happened because of like the minor amount of racial restitution offered in this country. That's why it happened. It's victim blaming. It's victim blaming. You know? What were they wearing? Were they asking for it? That's what this is, okay? He says it straight up. He says it in this interview and in the Dana Bash interview, where he just turns around and says, no, guys, nobody wants this kind of white supremacist action to happen, but it's happening because of the real racism of the Democratic Party. Like affirmative action. That's the reason why it's happening. And it's like, dude, you are not trying to become a new moderator on actual public freakouts, okay? That argument will work in a hyper-isolated, far-right echo chamber. That shit is going to have... You can do that on a fucking far-right Reddit echo chamber. You can't do that on national television. You fucking freak.
It comes across as blaming those that are trying to create equality for the rise in racism.
Well, the fact is, Chuck, I don't want to be playing a blame game. I want to be going...
Yeah, but I'm going to do it anyway. I don't want to be playing the blame game, but Lord forgive me because I'm about to play the blame game.
Going towards a solution. And I am genuinely worried that those who earnestly espouse the view, I'm going to quote Ibram Kendi from his book directly, I'm not putting words in anybody's mouth, says the right answer to past discrimination is present discrimination. The right answer to present discrimination is future discrimination. I believe the people who hold that view...
That's awesome. So, for the record, he is right. A chatter also called it. He is right, technically. The problem is you're not supposed to defend that, you fucking idiot. You're supposed to shit on that, okay? Like, that's the issue here. If he were to say acts of white supremacist violence always come at the heels of like even marginal and oftentimes symbolic restitution afforded to black and brown communities, then he's right. Civil War is a good example, okay? Lynchings in the Reconstruction era and a revitalization of the Klan is another example, okay? White people get up in fucking arms anytime a crumb of civil liberties are afforded or given to black people, okay? So he's not wrong. He's not wrong on that front. The issue is you're not supposed to say that it's the fault of the people offering a modicum of civil liberties to black and brown people. It's the fault that these people are fucking feeling entitled and emboldened to be able to enact such violence and such inhumanity, such cruelty. Okay? That's the problem. He turns the fucking crosshairs back to the institutions that are only symbolically looking to make it seem like they care about black people. That is what's insane to me. That is what is absolutely insane to me. That someone has the actual audacity to go after yet another white supremacist fucking mass shooting, go on national television and be like, well, you know, it's just, this is going to happen. Yeah. How did you expect the slaver to react when a slave was freed? It's exactly what the take is. I'm surprised that you are just noticing this. What do you mean? Just noticing what? Only thing I'm just noticing is the top of the hour ad break that's coming for you right now. Okay? Now, you might not notice it when it comes for you because you're probably subscribed for $5 or for free with Twitch Prime. Or maybe you got lucky and you got gifted a sub. But if that didn't happen for you, then you will notice the 3-minute ad break right now. I'm running it currently. Okay, let's move on. All right. Did Oliver Anthony respond? No, he did not. Seismo Giraffe and Matt NLT, thank you for the 5 gifted subs, allowing 10 people to no longer see the ads. Okay.
are earnest about it, but I think they're wrong. And I think that that's actually creating more discrimination and more division in our country. And I think...
Yeah, it's creating more discrimination. That's the problem. It's like, bro, you cannot turn around and lay the finger of blame at the marginal amount of restitution afforded to black people in the immediate aftermath of a fucking white supremacist shooting that happened after, in the state of Florida, things were taken away from black people. For example, the opportunity to learn black history. Okay? So how does that work? I'm not a big action reaction kind of guy, as I literally went through with detail, okay? Meticulously went through with detail all of the many different things that Ron DeSantis has done in the state of Florida and how that more so is going to be a problem later down the line and how it's not like an immediate action and an immediate reaction to said action. These things don't happen like that automatically, okay? But even then, you can't make that argument. The state of Florida is fighting woke. So from your own fucked up morality or from your own fucked up logical box that you have placed yourself inside of. So what is it? Because that Ron DeSantis is not fighting woke hard enough in the state of Florida? Is that what it is? Because it sure seems like he's fighting woke in the state of Florida. And guess what happened? This shit happened. It's not like this happened immediately after Ron DeSantis came out with like affirmative action policies in the state of Florida. It happened after he fucking did the exact opposite. This happened after the Supreme Court struck down affirmative action. And this, of course, once again, makes it seem like you agree with the shooter who also is spiritually harmed by these concepts, affirmative action, or they feel like black people are getting a handout, that they've taken positions in society away from the white man, white men like him. So do you agree with the shooter? Do you agree with what he did? If not, why don't you fucking clarify it? Because it sure seems like you're agreeing with the shooter right now.
And I think that that's actually creating more discrimination and more division in our country.
Wait, is he white? No, Vivek is not white, man. The fucking white supremacist shooter was, though. That's what I'm talking about.
And I think the right answer is actually to restore colorblind equality, colorblind meritocracy, embrace what unites us.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, we got to embrace colorblind meritocracy. Okay. That's what Florida did. So why is that not working? Why did the exact opposite of that happen then?
Across our diversity, instead of celebrating our skin-deep diverse attributes. That's how I think we reunite this country, Chuck. And it's not blaming anybody else for having a different point of view.
This is also so fucking stupid because it's like, okay, so what's up? Was the antebellum South, chattel slavery era, was that colorblind unity and meritocracy occurring then? You know, was there no racialized violence back then? Because there certainly wasn't the affirmative action happening back then. There was no affirmative action. Is that the good old days? Is that better? Should we go back to that? Is that, you know? If it's affirmative action that's getting these fucking racist people to engage in such acts of individual violence, okay, then is that the main reason? Is that the main reason chattel slavery happened? Please explain that to me.
But I do think that as a leader, it's my job to articulate exactly how we will unite this country, and that's exactly how I'm going to do it.
Let me move to... You didn't get a chance to answer at the debate. Most of the candidates on stage Wednesday night said Mike Pence did the right thing on January 6th. Do you agree?
I would have done it very differently. I think that there was a historic opportunity that he missed to reunite this country in that window. What I would have said is this is a moment for a true national consensus where there's two elements of what's required for a functioning democracy in America. One is secure elections, and the second is a peaceful transfer of power. When those things come into conflict, that's an opportunity for heroism. Here's what I would have said. We need single-day voting on Election Day. We need paper ballots, and we need government-issued ID matching the voter file. And if we achieve that, then we have achieved victory, and we should not have any further complaint about election integrity.
So what would you have done
it through the Senate?
So what would you have done with Mike Pence? You would have not certified the election?
So in my capacity as president of the Senate, I would have led through that level of reform. Then on that condition, certified the election results, served it up to the president, President Trump, then to sign that into law, and on January 7th, declared the re-election campaign pursuant to a free and fair election. I think that was a missed opportunity, but that's the kind of spirit we're going to need to unite.
Yeah, this stuff is whatever.
So
as a consequence
your
of the
argument
so-called
comes
that part is irrelevant. Here he is. Here's another Vivek getting fucking slammed, okay? So he made a comparison to Ayanna Pressley. He said Ayanna Pressley is like literally the Ku Klux Klan, okay? He is out of his fucking mind with these takes, okay? He's out of his fucking mind with these takes. And he doesn't have Trump-level television skills to be able to justify it. He comes across as too much of a debate lord. You know what I mean? And he got fucking owned by Dana Bash, okay?
Ask you about a comment that you made about white supremacy in Iowa on Friday.
I've never once encountered that yet. I'm sure the boogeyman white supremacist exists somewhere in America. I've just never met him. Never seen one. Never met one in my life, right? Maybe I'll meet a unicorn sooner. And maybe those exist too.
So just because somebody hasn't encountered one doesn't mean that the notion of white supremacy doesn't exist as a threat in America. What do you think goes through the minds of the families of the 3 victims in yesterday's shooting when they hear?
I've never seen a white supremacist that doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Yeah, like I've never seen LeBron James. So in person in the real world, so doesn't exist to me. He's actually made up. He's a hologram. No human being could have that level of grace and athleticism trapped in a 6'8" body. Can't happen. So don't believe it.
You say that white supremacy is
also. I don't even believe that he's never seen a fucking white supremacist. He's been campaigning as a Republican. Okay, the fuck do you mean you've never seen white supremacy? Yeah, he can't even do the no object permanence thing because he's in a fucking room where there's probably white supremacists. Like, the fuck are you talking about, man? Even the like no object permanence shit doesn't work here because you're in a room full of them, okay?
Is basically a fantasy.
I'm sure they're grieving for their loss, and I don't want to politicize those victims. Dana, this is a very sensitive situation where we should have nothing but foremost respect for those victims and not bring them into partisan politics.
Yeah, dude, totally. Yeah, you should ask those victims. You know, you should ask the victims' families what they think about white supremacy and whether or not you are the one who's currently politicizing it in the opposite direction and not in the direction that honors what happened to them. You know what I mean? It's crazy. They're so obviously just like, first of all, they rush immediately to politicize everything. This idea of like, oh, let's not politicize this disaster is bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. We've moved beyond this, okay?
Them into partisan politics. But I was responding to a question where someone asked me, what racism have I experienced in recent years? And I answered honestly. Most of that racism has come from the modern left. It's happening.
The backtracking into like a more moderate position doesn't work in the real world, okay? Like the coming out of the gate swinging with the fucking psychotic take only to like backtrack it into like a more moderate position is just not going to work. I mean, I know that. I'm a media guy who's most famous for saying America deserved 9/11, okay? Let me explain to you that like those who care enough to understand the truth behind your sentiment are going to seek it, but the overwhelming majority of people are just going to hear America deserved 9/11 and move on. They're going to be like, Hassan? This guy's a fucking communist, terrorist, Al-Qaeda supporter. Okay? So that's number one. Number two, he's not even interested in having a real, more moderate conversation. that much is very obvious in the way that he's dancing around it.
You took it to another level on Friday. In addition to the comment we played, you took issue with comments from Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. She reportedly said, quote, "We don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice." About that, you said, "These are the words of the modern grand wizards of the modern KKK."
Yeah, like it's insane. It's an insane take. It's absolutely a nutty take, okay? One thing I will say, a white person oftentimes can get away with saying that. A brown person going to get a lot more scrutiny. Vivek's big problem here is that he thinks he's fucking white. Brother, you are not white, okay? You're not white. You say that shit, there's going to be way more scrutiny coming at you, okay? People like Dana Bash are going to make fucking cookie dough out of you, okay? Donald Trump says shit like that on a daily fucking basis because he has, one, he's white, and he's the great white hope. He's the savior of all whites. He's white man's Barack Obama, okay? But also, he's more telegenic. He doesn't get into like the loser like debate shit. You know what I mean? He's just like punchy. Bro, just watch the chat. People are going to hit you with the "you are also not white." I mean, I don't give a shit.
You know, I'm sure the KKK was responsible.
A white person would never get to say that without backlash? No, of course there would be backlash. What are you, fucking silly? That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying, can you overcome the backlash? Hello? Because right now, Big Homie is not overcoming the backlash. He's not. Not doing a great job. Anyway.
For more than a century's worth of horrific lynchings, rapes, murders of black people. How in any way are the views you're talking about comparable to the views?
Did you just backtrack your take just like Vivek did? What? What part of my take did I just backtrack? Explain in clear terms. I mean, yeah, what am I doing? This is like definitely bait. Okay,
and
let's
atrocities committed by the KKK.
What I said is the Grand Wizards of the KKK would be proud of what they would hear her say, because there's nothing more racist than saying that your skin color predicts something about the content of your viewpoints
you
or
didn't
your
just say
ideas.
they would be proud. You said these are the words of the modern
Yeah, she goes, nope, that's not what you said. Here's what you said.
Wizards of the modern KKK.
It is the same spirit. You're right about that, Dana. I think it is the same spirit to say that I can look at you and based on just your skin color, that I know something about the content of your character.
Yeah, he goes a little bit into it.
You said on Friday that a man-made climate change has existed as long as man.
Wait, I want to see the full clip. Do we have it on the playlist? Let me see. Oh, we don't have it on the playlist. Oh, here it is.
Joining me now is
shooter in a Christian school, killing 6, longing for purpose and meaning in this country. I think it is just a shame that we even have mass shootings like this, be it the one that happened in Florida, be it the recent one, the Nashville shooter in a Christian school, killing 6 in a school.
Bro, a trans person going into a fucking school, a Christian school, okay, and engaging in yet another fucking school shooting is not the same as like the 7th or however many fucking very clearly targeted white supremacist acts of violence on black communities, okay? There is no like targeted racialized violence or ideological violence enacted towards Christian people. Like that's not a real fucking thing in the United States of America, at least, okay? We're not talking about like ISIS-run territory in fucking Syria or some shit. It's not happening. It's not a thing. No matter how hard Christians feel like when they go to Starbucks and they'll say fucking Merry Christmas, it's not the same thing, okay? Ridiculous. Do you think he actually believes the shit he's saying? No. Vivek does not believe a single fucking thing he says. He does not believe a single thing he says. Guys, here, let me give you some background on Vivek Ramaswamy. Populist entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy. How did he get rich? Well, one, He already had a couple million by the time he got to law school, and yet he still got a George Soros scholarship to go to law school. That's number one. So it starts all the way back then. Okay? Here's how he got rich, though. He found a biotech firm with a hedge fund and venture capital dollars. He then bought a patent for an Alzheimer's drug that had failed 4 trials, raised more money to try and take that to the market, and then he took the company public. He cashed out. The drug failed its 5th trial, and the investors wiped out. He is literally a con man. Okay? Straight up. He's a classic fucking Silicon Valley tech con man. No, that's not like Trump 3.0. No, Trump has always failed upward in like very... if you make a Trump comparison here, you are missing a major difference. Donald Trump is also a con man, but he is a likable television personality who also is a con man, but he's a con man in a way that like a lot of Americans kind of understand and kind of like give a lot of outs to. You know, he's a rich kid. He failed upwards in the real estate business. That's very different. That's a very different kind of demon. That kind of demon is very different than like the Elon Musk style entrepreneurs. The Silicon Valley tech CEOs. Okay? The Silicon Valley tech CEO guy is a very different kind of demon that a lot of Americans do not understand, do not recognize, and can't see beyond like, oh, that's bad. Okay? Vivek is a very successful con man. Vivek is like actually way smarter than Donald Trump and is way more business savvy and therefore way more of a capitalist demon, a successful capitalist demon than Donald Trump. Donald Trump has fucked up the bag and failed upwards his entire life. That's very different. He's been carried by his parents. He's been carried by his father, who kept dumping more funds into him. That's very, very different than Vivek Ramaswamy, who is like a very good, cunning, shrewd, and demon-like businessman. Okay? What do you mean by failed upwards? I mean, just look up how... Donald Trump got bankrupt like 7 times. Every single venture that he's dipped his toes into has been a failure, from Trump Steaks to Trump University to literally a fucking casino. How do you fuck up the bag with a casino? Like, that's what I mean. Vivek, on the other hand, he's always doing like rug pulls and shit like that. Okay? Because when you have a certain amount of money chatter, you basically can't go broke unless you're a fucking idiot. Yeah, with Donald Trump, the reason why he's still seen as like a wealthy person is because his family has owned assets and he has kept owning said assets and using said assets in real estate as depreciating assets to avoid paying taxes, and that's it. You sit on fucking real estate, it's going to keep giving you more net worth no matter what. That's it. That's the difference. Donald Trump doesn't have to do shit for the rest of his fucking life and never had to. Anyway, Donald Trump also played a wealthy person on TV. That was a huge deal for him and his likability. And the reason why people found, like, the reason why he was in a shit ton, like referenced in a shit ton of popular culture, whether it be rap music, for example. Like, this is the type of shit that most people don't understand. Like, rappers have been talking about Donald Trump for years, okay? Part of that, to me, signifies how much the Trump brand and the Trump image was already perfectly crafted in the black community. The reason why was because his show, The Apprentice, was, at the time, one of the most diverse shows on television. Okay? I don't think a lot of people understand that. The Apprentice was a very diverse show with a very diverse cast and had a tremendous amount of support from black and brown audiences. That is branding that you have meticulously and carefully cultivated over the course of multiple decades. You can't just like pop out of nowhere, okay? And you can't do this as a white guy either, for the record. You certainly can't do it as a brown guy, but you can't even do this as a white guy. If this worked, Blake Masters would be the Arizona senator. Okay? Because Vivek is basically Blake Masters, but also on top of that, he's playing with a handicap in the field because he's also brown. And his last name is Ramaswamy. So if people were grossed out by fucking Blake Masters, Vivek looking at that and like maybe dialing back the school shooter style, like that Blake was putting out there, the school shooter vibes that he was putting out there, Vivek dialed that part back, but he's still just as sweaty and as nerdy as a debate lord as Blake Masters is. He's not going anywhere.
We have to address that mental health epidemic, and we need leaders with the courage to do it. But my heart goes out to those families, and I hope something like this never happens again.
Mental health is one aspect of these shootings, and apparently, and we're still learning a lot about what happened. The facts are still coming out. Also, this was very much apparently racially motivated. The sheriff there said point blank that this shooter had manifestos coming, 3 manifestos, and said specifically that he went to this dollar store with the intent of killing black people.
I think that is heinous and deserves to be called out for what it is. The reality is we've created such a racialized culture in this country in the last several years that right as the last few burning embers of racism were burning out, we have a culture in this country largely created by media and establishment and universities and politicians that throw kerosene on that racism. And I can think of no better way to fuel racism in this country than to take something away from other people on the basis of their skin color. I've been saying that for years. And
yeah, so that's why it happened? That's why this happened in Florida. Because affirmative action or something, right? Like, is that... What a stupid fucking argument, dude. Plays a role. He's not wrong. Bro said we were so close to solving racism, and then we started talking about it too much. Yeah, guys. Chattel slavery, one of the most horrific continued acts of racial subjugation and violence, happened because everyone was talking about race too much. That's what it was. Ramaswamy's right. When black people were stolen, okay, and sold off like cattle, that was because they were talking so much about race. You know what I mean? That's what it was. That's why chattel slavery happened. Famously, people don't understand that. You know what I mean? Jim Crow laws implemented in the South, also because people were constantly talking about race. Okay? KKK, they just hated people talking about race. It's additionally weird to be like, affirmative action is causing this kind of racial violence in the heels of affirmative action being eviscerated by the Supreme Court. The fuck? What are you saying? It literally doesn't even fucking exist. What are you talking about? Like what? Like it doesn't even have to make sense anymore, I guess.
And I think that is driving, sadly, a new wave of anti-black and anti-Hispanic racism in this country. I think the right way forward is if we want to stop hate and discrimination on the basis of...
Bro, just look at the races from the most racist town in America. His favorite president is Obama because he made it racial. Yeah.
Race. Let's stop discriminating on the basis of race and see what unites us as Americans, because I do not...
Bro, these kinds of fucking takes maybe work on the Republican podium when you're not immediately coming across like you are defending another white supremacist act of violence. Millions of black people abducted and forced to march to their death and be separated from their families and raped by enslavers. Yeah, but that was because they were talking about race, Puerto Rican vegan socialists. That's what Vivek thinks. He thinks that this is a legacy of just talking too much about race. That's why it happened. Hey, India, remember when you were colonized? That's because you were constantly talking about, I guess, like, the caste system or something. I don't know. That's why it happened.
I think this kind of racial division and any division is good for us as the United States.
I believe that there are a lot of people of color in this country who don't think it was just lasting embers of racism, but that a lot more work had to be done particularly given the history of the systemic racism in this country with slavery and beyond. I want to ask you about a comment that you made about white supremacy in Iowa on Friday.
I've never once encountered that yet. I'm sure the boogeyman white supremacist exists somewhere in America. I've just never met him. Never seen one. Never met one in my life, right? Maybe I'll meet a unicorn sooner. And
dude, that's an insane take, brother. That's so funny. No, it's just that's so ridiculous, dude. He's just never, dude. What do you mean? Like, I've never seen a white supremacist guy. Like, even fucking Tim Ryan doesn't say that, or Tim Scott. I keep calling him Tim Ryan. God, he's such a fucking loser. Like, even he has like stories about how, like, well, this is a real white supremacist I've encountered, whereas Donald Trump is not one. You know what I mean? Like, like he just went beyond. He's just like, no, actually, even individual white supremacists don't exist, which is kind of ridiculous because the most racist motherfuckers who are in the media, in the conservative media circles, even they admit, like, no, it's about individual acts of racism. It's not systemic, right? This is 10 crack commandments. God is real. There are what? There are two genders, I assume. That's the second one. Human flourishing requires fossil fuels. Reverse racism is the real racism. Wait, what is this 10 crack commandments, dude? Let me see. Isn't this like, I'm not going to lie.
All right, back to democracy.
If I'm an Indian guy who is not a Christian, who also is not like, if I'm an Indian guy who's visibly not like a white Christian Protestant, I wouldn't invoke the 10 commandments, especially by changing the 10 commandments. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, because, like, to me, I feel like that's a bit of a misstep, because then people are gonna be like, wait a minute, this brown guy's telling me about 10 commandments. I mean, this is good, but like, we got 10 commandments. Anyway, 1, God is real. 2, there are 2 genders. 3, human flourishing requires 2. There are 2 genders. Like, that's the second one. That's how important it is. Which God, Vivek? Which God is this Satan worshiper talking about? Human flourishing requires fossil fuels. That's the third one. Dude, they keep getting better. Reverse racism is racism. Then just call it racism. Why are you calling it reverse racism? Why are you calling it a different thing? Just say racism is bad. If reverse racism is just racism, people will understand that, no? Oh, wait, you get fucking booed out of rooms if you said that. Anyway, number 5, an open border is no border. Number 6, okay, they start getting more boring. Parents determine the education of their children. Number 7, nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to mankind. Number 8, capitalism lifts people up from poverty. There are 3 branches of U.S. government, not 4. What? The U.S. Constitution is the strongest guarantor of freedoms in history. What does he mean? He means the IRS? No, I think he's talking about the media, the fourth estate. Do we really put climate grifter Alec Epstein line? Human flourishing requires fossil fuels. Mr. Everyone is saying their rehearsed lines, can't even make up his own commandments. I mean, he is also a big plagiarizer, as you guys know. He plagiarized Obama, dude. When you plagiarize so fucking much, you end up plagiarizing from Obama, like, you got to dial it back a little bit, brother. You know what I mean?
Maybe those exist too.
So just because somebody hasn't encountered one doesn't mean that the notion of white supremacy doesn't exist as a threat in America. What do you think goes through the minds of the families of the 3 victims in yesterday's shooting when they hear you say that white supremacy is basically a fantasy?
I gotta pee. I've been drinking a lot of water.
I'm
today.
sure they're grieving for their loss, and I don't want to politicize those victims, Dana. This is a very sensitive situation where we should have nothing but foremost respect for those victims and not bring them into partisan politics. But I was responding to a question where someone asked me, what racism have I experienced in recent years? And I answered honestly. Most of that racism has come from the modern left. It's happening during the course of this campaign. Kara Swisher calling me Ramaswamy the other day and reveling in making twists of my last name. People effectively reducing me to the color of my skin and my attributes. That comes today from the modern left. But the reality is,
do you
this is
acknowledge,
part of
though,
a
that
dogma
white
in this country.
supremacy does still exist in the United States?
I acknowledge that all forms of racial animus exist in the United States, including fringe branches. I mean, that's clearly what was at the head of this mentally deranged individual responsible for this shooting, yes. But I think there are many forms of mental derangement that cause us to see one another on the basis of our skin color and our attributes. And I think what we need to revive, Dana, and it's my job as the leader, hopefully as the next president, to do this, to revive our doctrine of e pluribus unum, not just celebrating our diversity and our skin-deep attributes, but celebrating what unites us across that diversity. That's what we've forgotten in the United States of America. Our true strength is the set of ideals that unite us. That's my job to revive as our next president.
I love this take because he's like head trauma Swami. That's funny. I love this because he goes, racism, I've never met a white supremacist, except all the Democrats are white supremacists. They're the racist ones. It's like, racism doesn't exist, but if it were to exist, it would only exist in the Democratic Party. Like, how? What do you mean? You just said you've never met a white supremacist, then you said Democrats are the white supremacists. It's so stupid. Like, it's just so dumb. Also, for the people that said head trauma Swami, let's be real. This motherfucker's got a big-ass dome, okay? Like, he's the one who's giving head trauma to other motherfuckers, okay? Yeah, he literally said he never experienced racism, but he experienced racism from the left. Like, what are you saying right now? What's happening here? He's just doing word salad, not realizing that's rich coming from you. Okay, listen. Shut the fuck up, okay? My head is normal sized. He doesn't deserve this his hairline. What do you mean? His hairline is awful, dude. He's got the Vegeta hairline. What are you talking about? This is the closest we have gotten to a real Vegeta hairline in media ever.
And I think that the next generation in particular is so starved for that, starved for commonality, starved for a nation that is unified, bigger than the sum of its parts. That's what we need to recreate in this country. And to those who say the remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination, I say no. The right remedy is actually abandoning all discrimination and moving forward with colorblind meritocracy in the United States of America.
You took it to another level on Friday. In addition to the comment we played, you took issue with comments from Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. She reportedly said, quote, "We don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice." About that, you said, "These are the words of the modern grand wizards of the modern."
That part is banger, okay?
Damn, this guy's good.